So, Seth, you had said in an email yesterday that the name of the book was technically one thing, but going to be another. What did that mean?
What it meant was the blog post was about how I thought about the book. It wasn't technically according to the Library of Congress. It was just a turn of a phrase. The book is called "This Is Marketing." That's really the name of the book, because my publisher correctly said, if I call the book "Make Things Better by Making Better Things," I won't sell any copies. So
Yeah,
that's what the book's about, but that's
yeah,
not what the book is called. And
gotcha.
so using my sotto voce to my readers, I was saying, yeah, that might be the title, but you know me well enough to know what it's really called is People Like Us Do Things Like This, Make Things Better by Making Better Things, etc.
And this has been an evolutionary thought, and I mean the way that the book was, or the summary of the book was written up, is this is a culmination of a lot of your thinking of where marketing needs to go.
The thing is, for 80 years, marketing was the single most extraordinary bargain in the history of mankind. That you could change the culture and get paid to do it if you did nothing but run ads. That if you just ran more ads, everything would get better for you and the people you worked with. So we built an entire culture around the idea that that's what we should do. And if you were a consumer, you were brainwashed in school and all your years growing up to think that the culture and advertising were the same. If they advertised, like, how did it become that as seen on TV is something to brag about, right?
Yeah, right.
And then 20 years ago, the first mass medium ever invented not to make marketers happy started to catch on. The internet was not invented for marketers. TV was, radio was, newspapers were, not the internet. The marketers showed up after. And so marketers have like launched themselves into this world, insisting that it's like TV, but with free ads. And it's not. And so there's all this pain. If you go to Cincinnati, the people in Procter & Gamble, they're just bleeding in the streets because they don't know how to do what they did in 1964.
Right.
And so what happened for the last 20 years is people like me would talk about and write about, oh yeah, it's like it used to be, but with this twist. And it's like it used to be, but with Twitter. And it's like it used to be, but, and I'm saying, no, line in the sand, it's over. Throw Kotler in the garbage. All the textbooks are irrelevant. This is marketing. Marketing is a responsibility and an opportunity, not just for Procter & Gamble, but for anyone with a keyboard. And you could be a victim of social networking if you want. You can hassle and spam people if you want. Or you can embrace this thing, this moment, this revolution, own it, and say, here, I made this, and I'm proud of it. And I haven't written a marketing book in 10 years, but it was time for me to say, new start, we're going to stop talking about Mad Men. We're going to stop talking about photo shoots. And we're going to go right to the heart of it, which is who trusts you, who's listening to you, and what change are you able to make?
It's ironic because it seemed like the birth of the internet promised a new level of authenticity and peer-to-peer interaction. And then what you're talking about just now just was a complete counter to that. They wanted to be as choreographed as television. And the cracks are really showing now. So it sounds like, Seth, you're saying there's an opportunity to get to it. There's an opportunity for brands to return to a level of authenticity or grab a level of authenticity on the web. It's sort of a scary concept for companies that whose legal and whose leadership are insular in nature and risk adverse by nature.
All right, so I just need to rant a little bit about authenticity. People don't care about authenticity. If you're going to a lawyer, you don't want her to say, oh, I don't really feel like doing law today. You want her to be the best lawyer in the world, even if she doesn't feel like it. And if you pick up your phone, you don't want someone in the network system to say, I had a fight with my wife. You're not going to get a good connection today.
That is authentic.
We don't actually want authenticity. What we want is consistency.
Gotcha.
And it turns out that authentic trauma is something that's a sideshow on the internet that some people like to tune into. The real life soap opera of, some pharmaceutical executive having a meltdown and going to jail, right? That you can call that authenticity if you want. I'm calling that trauma. But what most people want is to be able to count on the organizations, the brands, and the people around them in a way that they can trust. And that's not authenticity, it's consistency. So these companies that are trying to pretend that they're people, you're not people, you're companies. And you can invent a personality and you can live inside that personality, right? But if I found out that the CEO of Harley drove a Porsche, I wouldn't feel any less about Harley, because Harley isn't the CEO. Harley is the promise. And it's the promise of how driving a Harley will change me. And as long as they're consistent about that and don't start, marketing a line of pajamas, then people will engage with them. So I think what the internet has said to large organizations is, stop marketing at us. Stop treating us like a cash register and start marketing with us. See us for who we are, what we want, and what we dream of. And if you can make those dreams come true, we're in.
So what is the action that both brands and maybe agencies need to do to evolve?
That's a great question. So it begins with practical empathy. And practical empathy is not sympathy. Practical empathy is being able to understand the people you seek to serve don't want what you want, don't know what you know, don't need what you need, and don't believe what you believe. And that's okay. So you can market pantyhose even if you're a man, but only if you're willing to say to your customers, I get that you need to wear pantyhose, and I get that the reason you want to wear pantyhose is X, Y, and Z. The reason you want to do it is not so I can make money. Right? So Brian Tracy has a riff that a great salesperson is a doctor. You come to somebody and you figure out what they need and you offer to them. But too often salespeople are selfish. That if you went to a knee surgeon with a cold, she's not going to say, I'll give you knee surgery. She's going to send you to a different doctor. Well, that's what marketers and agencies have to be willing to do. They have to be able to see the client or see the person they seek to serve, have empathy for who they are and what they believe. And if you've got something for them that you can teach them about, please do. And if you don't, please stand down. Because just because you have my email address doesn't mean you have a right to interrupt me.
So thinking about the role of agencies and the role of consultants as the middlemen of knowledge, if you will.
Sure.
And how that they have often helped brands interpret the outside world to then learn how to communicate to it. Is it fair to say that their role needs to almost shift from source of knowledge to curator or co-learner of the marketplace and keep the brand engaged in that process rather than the traditional old black box model of, we'll bring you the answer, don't worry?
Yeah, this is a brilliant question. So I was spending millions of dollars with an ad agency in 1983, which was sort of the end of the glory days. What all the people listening to this know is that agency compensation is an artifact of the rise of the newspaper, 15% off the top. So it looked like you were working for free because the media companies were paying you a fortune. And in the 80s, you had clients who were spending $100, $200, $300 million, which means you were making $40 million running the same ads over and over again. That was magic. That was perfect. And what revolutions do is they destroy the perfect and then they enable the impossible. And that's what we have now, which is you can make a video that gets seen by 100 million people and it costs you nothing to put that in front of the world. So the comp has totally changed, which means that all the interactions have to change. So what should agencies do? And what I've been saying for 20 years is what agencies should do is use the momentary leverage they have to get in front of the CEO. And what they have to say to her is, stop doing marketing at the end. That it is not okay to hire us after everything is finished and say, quick, spam this to the world. That what we want to do is we want to be sitting next to you in the product development meetings. And we want to be sitting next to the engineers in the engineering meetings. And what we want to do is build an organization where the story comes first, where the audience comes first. If you will let us in the door to do that, your media spend will go down by 90%. Your revenue will go through the roof, and you can pay us for the value that we create. That, if we look at every brand that's been built in the last 10 years, every single one has been built on that idea, not on the idea of finish it, then figure out how to interrupt people and talk to them about
it. For the brands that are brave enough to make a transition and actually change behavior and do something different, and let's say that we're 5 years from now, and that these trends, life keeps speeding up like it is, shelf life of information keeps decreasing like it is, pressure to constantly create more and more believable content. What does it look like 5 years from now? And then how do we characterize where we are today?
I guess, especially as we Amazonize all consumer spending, who would miss you if you were gone? So, I remember growing up, if that market on the corner had gone away, everyone in my neighborhood would have missed it because we would have had to go extra far to go pick something up, right? That if, when Bob Dylan dies, there are a whole bunch of people who are going to miss him when he's gone because he has earned a place in our hearts. But if the generic pair of socks were made by a company that's gone tomorrow, I'll just click 1 inch farther over to the right and I'll get a different generic pair of socks. I won't miss you. And so the race is to build a presence, trust, and leadership where you would be missed if you weren't there. And so when we look back to this frenzy we've got now of paying influencers, of misunderstanding what content marketing was supposed to be, of SEO, of elbows thrown to box out the competition. Yeah, that's not going to work because the Amazon algorithm will bankrupt anybody who's playing by those rules.
Yeah.
Because it will say, like Google says, give me all of your profit and then I'll give you some customers. You can't win that way. You have to be the person who will be disappointed if Amazon points to your competitor.
Well, with so much change, Seth, and with your vision, I know that there's a lot of people coming into the industry that don't have all the baggage of the past, and they grew up on the internet. And there's a belief that there must be some fundamentals that we take forward, even though we're leaving a lot behind. I'm just curious, what sort of advice would you have for people just starting out their career in marketing and wanting to lead as CMO or even CEO of some of the big brands of tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the reason the book exists is because I run a seminar called the Marketing Seminar. 6,000 people have taken it. And there's 50 videos from me, and I get to watch people interact because it takes 100 days and there's a lot of project work. Of the 50 videos, 3, 4 are about how you are on the internet. And 46 are how you are in the world. So like one of the things that I challenge someone who wants to be in marketing to do is go to the bus station with a $20 bill and sell it to someone for $10. Figure out how to do that. So there's no doubt about the value of what's for sale, right? It's not like, oh, it doesn't, it's a $20 bill. Who's going to buy it for $10? What do we learn from this lesson? How do you proceed? What we need to challenge someone who's coming into the industry to do is go around the neighborhood, find a bunch of people who will give you stuff that you can sell at your garage sale and split the money, and then go run a garage sale and see how many people come to the garage sale and see how much stuff you sell, right? That what we need to train marketers to do is to write a Craigslist ad that gets more than the average number of people to respond to it. That these things didn't matter if you worked for Zenith. They didn't matter if you worked for Ogilvy because you just had these giant levers and you went like this. But we don't have giant levers. I don't have a team. It's just me. More people read my blog every day than almost anyone in the Fortune 500 who have thousands of people trying to get attention. I'm just me by myself. There's no big levers. So that's your competition. Your competition is, yes, I get that you got more shelf space at Walmart than the little guy. Treasure that because it's not going to last for long. And don't misunderstand the future of marketing. It is not going to be the corporate thing it used to be because that was based on the comp. Now it's based on who would miss you. And that takes humanity. not authenticity, but humanity and consistency instead of victimizing the people who are giving you money.
Seth, is there anything else that you want to talk about regarding this book and what sets it apart from all your others?
Well, let me tell you why you write a book in a day when people can watch a video in a tenth the time and when a blog post can reach more people. The only reason it's worth all the pain and suffering to write a book is not because I needed it to teach my readers my point of view, because they already know my point of view. I needed it because a book is a magical totem and it's self-contained and it doesn't need a battery. And if you hand it to someone on your team and say, we're going to talk about this in tomorrow's meeting, information will be transferred, emotion will be transferred. So my message is, you don't have to agree with everything I said, but you have to have a position on everything I said. If you want to be a professional marketer, 2018 going forward, you either got to say, I'm for or against that stuff. And so my hope is that groups of people will have conversations about these ideas. And it's totally fine with me to be proven wrong. I'm wrong all the time, but at least I'm interesting.
That's great. Well, I can't think of a better place to end it but there. Seth, thank you so much for your time today. It's been really great talking with you.
Thank you. These were great questions. Good luck to you guys. Appreciate it.